Breonna Taylor was gunned down in her own home by plainclothes cops who had lied to a judge to obtain a no-knock warrant. And we still don't have justice in that case. In fact, the cops who were involved in that remain free. They haven't been criminally charged. But now we have some more evidence that there were inconsistencies between what actually happened that night and what the cops allege. And we know that because all of a sudden it turns out that after being told that the cops don't wear body cameras in Louisville, some of these cops who were there on the scene did in fact have a body cam. One of them did. The other had basically like a body cam, I don't know, for lack of a better word, like holster type thing with the body cam missing. But let me give you the details on what we know now based on photos from the scene that Vice was able to obtain. Photographs of officers taken from that night clearly show Officer Tony James, one of at least 7 officers present for the raid, wearing a body camera over his right shoulder. At least one other officer photographed, Miles Cosgrove, is wearing a body cam mount, that's the right word for it, on his vest, though no body cam is attached. Cosgrove, along with Sergeant John Mattingly and Brett Hankison, were placed on administrative reassignment later that day for discharging their weapon on the scene. I want to note that only one of those cops has been relieved of duty. The others still have a job and none of them have been charged criminally. This investigation is ongoing even though Breonna Taylor was murdered in her own home in mid-March. It's been months. So this contradicts statements by the Louisville Metro Police Department that the officers involved who work narcotics do not wear body cameras. The department has also said there is no body camera footage from the raid. It's unclear, however, if the camera present was turned on during the raid. So I want to show you the 2 images that prove what Vice is reporting. So here's an image of Tony James, and you can see his body camera on his shoulder. The second image is of Miles Cosgrove, and he has the mount for the body camera without the body camera in it on his shoulder as well. And so a lot of inconsistencies between what we heard from the police department and what the evidence bears out. There are other inconsistencies that I'll get to in a second, but Cenk, why don't you jump in?
Yeah, so first of all, want to be clear, those pictures are taken the night of the shooting. So very clearly, the body camera is there. So whether it was turned on is a different question, and it's supposed to be turned on. But I was gonna say we'll see more about that, but we might not, because cops are notorious liars, and these cops in particular have already clearly proven in how they lied about this incident, including on this specific issue. I want to say something that almost nobody ever points out. So you want these cops fired? Obviously, I agree. But the person who should be fired first is their manager. Whoever sent them to do a no-knock warrant after they already had the suspect in custody with no evidence, the person who authorized lying about the warrant because they said, oh, somebody at the Postal Service told us she's getting packages. People at the Postal Service said, confirmed, no one said that at the Postal Service. So they lied to a judge. So the people who managed these cops and trained these cops and sent them on this mission, they should be fired first. And understand how the system works and why the cops who did the shooting don't get fired. Because if the manager fires the cops, they go, wait a minute, you told us to do it. And then he's in trouble and he might get fired. So that's why they have a thin blue line. When we screw up and we murder people, remember, we all stick together because we all did it together and we all declare ourselves not guilty. So now the reason why all of our commentary seems jarring to a lot of Americans, but by the way, that's why we have a lot of folks who are in minority communities who watch us, because to them it's not jarring. They go, yeah, finally somebody in media is saying it. Yeah, that's what we've been saying all along. And so, but for others who are not minorities in this country, our commentary seems jarring because your whole life, everyone in the media told you the cops always tell the truth and you should trust the cops. Now, the reality is, as we've shown you in almost every story we've covered, no, you should assume the cops are lying because that's what the evidence reveals as the story goes forward. And guys, think about it. Would you trust any defendant when they say, I'm innocent? I wouldn't automatically trust them, no, okay? I'd give them a trial and I'd do a fair justice system, and I would do the same for the cops. But when somebody says, oh yeah, I shot him, but I'm innocent, no, my first instinct is not to trust them, okay? But the media brainwashed you into thinking if it's the cops, they were obviously telling the truth, and you should just drop it and let it go. No, here it is again. For the millionth time in a row, an obvious brazen lie by the police.
So I want to just mention one other concerning aspect of this story, because it does look like the scene was tampered with based on the images. And that's a problem, because you're not supposed to mess with that scene in any way. You're not supposed to move objects in any way in order to do a thorough investigation and to figure out what actually happened. Well, here's what Vice is reporting. The photos show an apartment riddled with bullets, including holes through the ceiling and nearly every room and wall. Bullets sprayed into 2 neighboring apartments, including up through the floor and into the ceiling of Taylor's upstairs neighbor. The photos also, in a few instances, appear to reveal discrepancies in the placement of several bullet casings between what is pictured at night and the following day. So looks like some of the bullet casings were moved, and that's a problem, not based on my own opinion, but based on actual experts. No one is supposed to touch anything. The former officer who asked to remain anonymous told Vice they should be exactly the same as they were the night before. I mean, this is like, you guys are smart. I don't mean to insult your intelligence. You know that, everyone knows that. That's just common knowledge of what happens in a crime scene or any scene where someone was gunned down and murdered.
But so look at that former cop. He's a good guy, and he's saying you shouldn't tamper with evidence. But he's so afraid of all of the other cops are clearly bad guys that he says it anonymously. Something as benign as you shouldn't tamper with evidence, he has to say anonymously. Oh, right. There's a couple of bad apples. No, the whole system is terribly corrupt. And by the way, in case you don't know, the one police officer who was fired, he was not necessarily fired for killing Breonna Taylor. He's the guy who fired into the other apartment buildings because he's firing blindly. He's like, who cares? I was taught and I was trained, never take any risk with your life. So he's like, who cares if I indiscriminately kill people in other apartments too? And one of the apartments had a baby in it and barely missed the baby. And so it appears he was fired for firing into the other apartments as well. Like killing Breonna Taylor, no big deal. We got the wrong house, we killed someone. It's Tuesday. So yeah. No, there was no body cameras, none at all. Don't worry about it, take our word for it. There's a picture of the cop with a body camera on him. Nope, everybody in the media, do your job, report that there were no body cameras and the cops are always the good guys. No deal, not true, you're lying.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.